Bert and Bert's Kitchen. On today's episode, I wanted to make you something that I make every day and I truly enjoy. My sausage vegetable packets. It's something that I use every day to make omelets, breakfast burritos, and sometimes even a Philly cheesesteak. It's something that makes my life a little bit easier. It's sort of like a just crack an egg. Alright, let me show you what we do. All you'll need, 2 onions, 1 package of mushrooms, 2 green bell peppers. The color doesn't matter because all bell peppers are the same. They're just different colors. So if you want to use red or orange or yellow, feel free. And I use 2 Jimmy Dean's regular sausage, breakfast sausages. Now, before I actually did this, I used to use bacon because bacon is used for another recipe that this is actually good for. So what you're going to want to do is get yourself a big bowl. Now, when I do mine, because the peppers don't shrink like an onion does, I try to do mine just a little bit thinner, smaller than I would the onions. Now, whenever you chop up the onions, you'll want to do the onions just a smidge bit bigger than the green peppers, just because they shrink. Also, a tip that was taught to me a long time ago, whenever you're slicing real fast like this, always keep your fingers in. So when you're slicing and you're going quick, I'll show you in a second why. If you miss while you're going and you go to nick, you're going to nick the bottom of your fingernail or the tip here rather than slicing into your finger. And it'll actually stop the knife, or you'll stop the knife, before it'll slice into your meat perfectly, because you'll feel it instantaneously rather than just slicing on in. And it keeps your fingers a little bit safer. Need to get me a little bigger cutting board. Typically, I don't make it in the amount I'm about to. I'm making a few more this week, actually. So it'll last for the month, and we'll have a few extras saved for lunches and whatnot, like I was saying earlier. Just slice the bottom off, give it a little flap, and then peel the flap, up the onion. I feel that this is the easiest for me. There might be an easier way, don't get me wrong. And if so, let me know. I'll give it a try. I always love to learn new things. And like I said, for these, I go a little bit thicker than I do with the green pepper. But I am going to slice this way down. Just want my chunks to be a little bit bigger. Like I said before, don't be afraid to go a little too big. They do shrink. I don't like mine super big, but about 1/2 inch, 3/4 or so. I don't want them too small. Make them too small, you won't even really know they're there. I like onion though. If you don't really like onion, you can mince them way down, or even just use onion powder. I just really like fresh onion in mine. And the onions get to you, now you don't know if you're just stoned or sad. And we'll give that a good old mix. This is typically how I tell if I need to add a little more or not. Now again, for mushrooms, I like mushrooms. About 3 slices to chop them all up, because I like to leave mine more chunky. Now, my other buddy who makes this, he prefers to dice the crap out of the mushrooms because he likes the mushrooms in there, but he's not a big mushroom fan. So it adds the flavor, and he doesn't really notice it. He said it's a texture thing. That's typically about the size you want. The same thing, you can just add them on into the onions and peppers. Just give it a little mix there. Now for the mushroom, I like a little more green pepper and onion than the mushroom. I do like the mushroom. That's up to you. You could add another container of mushrooms. All right. Another thing you do while you're tossing and turning this, add a little salt and pepper. I do mine while I'm frying it. But if you do it while you're mixing it like this, it'll also mix it all the way in, make sure everything's thoroughly coated. That's up to you. But that's about what you're looking for. Okay, once you have everything all diced up, come on over here to the stove. I go about medium heat, little above medium, per what you're frying. So today I'm going to be doing 2 batches, and since I'm doing 2 batches, I'm going to go ahead and do 2 on the first and 2 on the second. You don't quite need to have 2 in there if you don't want. The moisture will come off the vegetables as they're cooking, especially the mushrooms. But you do want a little bit of butter in there. Plus, when I'm doing mine, I add salt and pepper. And leave it sit for a minute, just to let everything cook. If you get too worried, you can actually cover it, which will keep some of the moisture in. I'm leaving mine uncovered because when I did it with the cover on it, I didn't like as much moisture as it left because I'm making packets out of it. And I don't want as much moisture in each packet. I would want more vegetables and everything else. So again, even at this stage, without using the sausage or anything else in there, if you just like Philly cheesesteaks, you could actually just do the packet this way and don't add any of the sausage or the bacon to it and freeze it this way, and then when you prepare your breakfast, you could add the bacon and sausage then, and you could also use the packets for Philly cheesesteaks and whatnot. But I like doing it this way because it makes everything more easy in the morning. I don't have to cook as many things in order to make my breakfast burritos or omelets. And while it's cooking, that gives me a chance to get a little more burnt. Just remember, don't get too burnt, because if you get too burnt, you end up burning the food. You don't want burnt food, you just want a burnt bird. Yep, you just want to keep cooking this down. It'll keep reducing in size. Once we fry the sausage later on and we mix it all together, it'll bulk back up again. And what you're looking for here is you're looking for your green peppers to soften down. The onions and the mushrooms will cook as it's going to. But the bell peppers is the main, because the bell peppers might not finish before the rest. Sometimes when I first started this, I'd actually cook my bell peppers first. But I quit doing that after a while and figured, I can deal with just a little more crunch. You may be bored already. If you are, get a little burnt from me. And to see if it's done, again, I'm just looking for the bell pepper to soften. That smells so good. I could just eat these the way they are. Alright, next we're going to take our Jimmy Deans. I already got them pre-cut. And we're going to fry that up. Start going a little crazy in the background. And this time, just given how much I have, I know I was saying I was going to use 2, but we're only going to use 1.5. If you want to use 2, I prefer 2 because it adds more meat to the mixture, but I'm going to go 1.5. Yeah, when you're making these yourself at home, you can use different ratios depending on what you prefer. If you don't like as much green pepper, don't use as much as me. If you like I said, a little more sausage in yours, go ahead and add all both in. You can hear my little buddy Woodstock in the other room going bananas. Another thing you could do if you want to cook it a little faster, but for you, I don't typically do it, is you can cover it too. It would help cook it a little bit faster. Help steam it more, I guess. I prefer mine fried. I actually was doing it that way whenever I first started cooking this dish, but over time, like I said, I didn't prefer the steam as much as I did to the fry. And while you're waiting for a little brown, go ahead and get a little burnt. Get a little burned as long as you ain't burning it. It's okay. We're trying to chop this up into real small, fine chunks, not these big chunks, because you're going to be mixing it in with the vegetables. Now, if you want yours to be a little more chunky, a little more meat inside there, you could leave it a little more chunky, but I prefer not. And some of you might like it a little chunkier like this. See, I prefer way smaller pieces of mine, just because I feel like it blends together better with the vegetables to give a more even flavor. I'm using mine more for breakfast burritos and omelets. Doing a little Final Fantasy level. I'm not trying to trade my bird. Once you get it about here where you can see it's all nice and browned up, get the chunks broke down to where you want them. You don't want it too brown. You don't want it to be browning on the bottom. You just want to turn it brown because, again, you're going to be recooking everything. So if you want it to be brown when you cook it again, throw it in there first before you throw your eggs. I typically don't. I throw the eggs and this together, mix them together, let them fry together. But if you want yours a little bit more brown, you can always take it and fry it a little bit before you add your eggs in. Or your side, or your steak if you're doing a Philly cheesesteak. And this is typically about where I like it. There's still a few little chunks in there I haven't quite got to, but they're nice little tiny pieces is more what I'm looking for. Then you're going to take a nice big serving spoon, take all that sausages you just fried up. Dump it on in there. Then you're going to take your serving spoon and give everything a good old mix and toss. Now again, I want to wait for this to cool a little bit. As you can see, it's steaming. I like to put my food in the bags cold, not warm. That way it's not cooking in the bag. So I'm going to go ahead and show you guys what to do. But typically for this, I'd chill it again. But I go ahead and use the freezer zip bags. What you can do is you can package these up just like this, make sure they're all good to go, and then freeze them. And what I'll do is I'll take all this, portion it all into individual preps, freeze every single one of them, and then every day when I take one out, I'll put one back, or take one out of the freezer when I use one. That way there's always one thawed and they always stay frozen. Okay folks, and there you have it. That is how you make my wonderful packets. That is enough here to make about a month's worth of food, breakfast for every day. I came out of here with about 27 packets. If you'd make them a little bit smaller, you could definitely squeeze the other 3 out of it. But that means for the next month now, I have enough food to make my breakfasts go by like that. Well, thank you for joining me today on Bert's Kitchen. If you have fun today and enjoyed everything and enjoyed getting burnt with me, give me a like, share, and subscribe, and come join us next time to get a little more burnt in the kitchen and see what we're making up.